The Delta Force, like so many other organizations, is the answer to a problem. If you can consider that our country's civic police force is the answer to a very general problem, the domestic physical safety of the population, then you could view the Delta Force as an answer to some very specific and complex problems. Domestic protection in our country comes in the form of our police departments, our National Guard forces, Department of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, and others. Our armed forces, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and etc., protect our nation and its interests abroad, a feat that can only be accomplished by relatively powerful nations like our own. There came a time when our country realized we did not boast an adequate capability to cope with one of the developing scourges of international terrorism of the time. That is, an aviation hijack situation. To clarify, there are basically two ways to respond to a hijacked airliner: wait it out and negotiate with the terrorist hoping you can win the semblance of a decent outcome, or you can seize the initiative and carry the fight to the terrorist. Being Americans, we prefer the latter of the choices. Imagine a large jet airliner with hundreds of people on board. Next time you are traveling by air, look around and try to imagine the complexity of breaking into and storming aboard an airliner filled with people and blaze through the aircraft trying to only shoot the terrorist. Somehow. To accomplish the arguably monumental task, we need a breed of person with hard-to-find balance of specific traits. Perhaps those traits should include a person who is in good physical form, not some guy who follows a yoga workout on YouTube, or the guy who goes to the gym to discuss working out for an hour then hits the showers, not the guy who joined a weekend jogging club or owns several bicycle riding costumes, but never actually rides a lot. So to find these men, the Delta Force puts the candidates through a month of intense physical stress in the mountains of West Virginia. Most of them don't make it. Then they are subject to rigorous psychological evaluations. Finally, the candidates go through 5 months of amazing specialized training that is specific to the missions of the Delta Force. If a candidate makes it to one of the assault squadrons, he maintains a probational status for 6 months while operating with his assault team. During those 6 months, he says very little and generally offers opinions and ideas only when solicited by the seasoned operators on his assault team. Men in Delta engage with a myriad of special operations skills. Close quarters combat is a skill that Delta specialize in to the highest degree in the U.S. Armed Forces. Responding to a terrorist hijacking of an airliner is an operation absolutely exclusive to the Delta Force in America. We practice the scenario several times a year in very realistic environments. The airliners we used were in-service aircraft, typically between flights. Delta purchased the flights to include the flight crew. Passengers were role players gathered and recruited by our operations and logistic crews. They were high school students, families of first responders, policemen, firemen, and the like, so we had a real airliner with all the typical passengers you would see on any flight. Then Delta men specially selected to perform the role of the terrorist work out their scenario play and assimilate in with the passengers. The assault could begin in another state, with the assault force being flown into the airport where the hijacked aircraft was located. In one scenario, we descended from the passenger compartment down into the luggage hold. We threw ropes outside and slid down the ropes as our aircraft taxied behind the hijacked aircraft. Scattered behind the target, we assembled and began our clandestine approach to the target. Our men aboard the target were watching for us, and if we were to do something sloppy or wrong, we would be compromised. The Delta Force was implemented to solve a problem. Today they solve problems still. Any problem on Earth that arises that is too complicated or daring for any other facet of our armed forces. Delta is phenomenally resourced and generously funded. It is because I understood what it means to be richly funded that I recognize the monumental value of our United States Marines, a force that is asked to perform incredible tasks with an absolute insult of a budget. I often think of the Delta Force as the one unit that National Command Authority holds with no pretense toward capability and expectations, therefore resourcing it thusly and removing all semblance of bullshit. There is almost no army there, yet many of the best men who have ever traversed the army have been there.